I can't wait to hear your expertise on some of the topics that we have today. All right, so we are live and direct. So let me just get the nicest things out of the way. Okay, just give me that. There's enough young. Oh, now that's me doing something in the background. Okay, so let me start. My name is Kulinda Shichinda. I'm a direct descendant of the people of Lugwalo village in Choma district. Uh, Malimi Hanojunju, okay. And then I'm also a direct descendant of the people of Shikachendi village out of Mumbai district. Ati Malimi Shanola Jumulimu Tog, or another Sala. So, and that is what I needed to do today. And of course, we are broadcasting. I am out here in the Indianapolis, city of Indiana, here in the Midwest of the U.S. And right now, we have a lot of topics going on. And if you joined in for the first time, we need to let you know we are a podcast whose views support the government of the day, which is the New Dawn government. We're UPND aligned, but we appreciate expertise, professional, any opinions from anywhere in the world on breaking topics out of Zambia. And now that we have that out of the way, let me just start by inviting the deep thinker. He's back and direct. The deep thinker, introduce yourself. Welcome to Ubuntu TV, Zambian diaspora, anything you want to call it. Here we are. Come on, deep thinker.
Straight from St. Louis, Missouri, Midwest, United States of America. This is Valentine joining in to discuss the economic, cultural, social, whatever you want to call it, affairs of our beloved country, Zambia, led by our very own capable leader, under the leadership of the UPND, with its president, Hagainde Hijilema. Viva UPND, viva!
Oh, here we go. Here he goes. Here he goes. All right. Yeah, are you thinking me at Uza right now? Deep thinker. Anyway, before we start, let's welcome our new entrant to this podcast, Mr. Harry Mafuta out of Lusaka. Let's him come in and introduce himself. Mr. Mafuta, please, did I pronounce your name correctly? Because I've been accused on this podcast of butchering people's names. So please correct me if I'm wrong. Go ahead, Mr. Mafuta.
Wow. Thank you so much for the welcome to this meeting. My full name is Harry Mafuta. I'm a chartered accountant. I've worked predominantly in the private sector all my life here in Lusaka, spanning over 22 years experience. Currently, I am just a freelance financial consultant. I think nothing much. I think my profile on LinkedIn, I think, can talk about my professional backgrounds. Thank you.
Oh, brilliant, Mr. Mafuta. We certainly going to tap into your money matters there as far as the Zambian, governance system is concerned, because we have a lot of people that at the moment complaining about the state of the economy in Zambia. So we definitely will tap into that, so you can give us a little insight there. So Valentine, this week, let's start there, because you are an education expert as an administrator in the St. Louis educational system. I'm sure you heard or you've read the PS of Education, Mr. Kamoko, yesterday announcing this change in our education system, where we're going back to, basically no exams for grade sevens and nines. The reintroduction of A and O levels in the secondary school, calendar year. Um, Tell me, what are your, we're not going to talk about the curriculum right now because we haven't seen it, but because I have some concerns myself that I would like Mr. Kamoko, probably even the minister, wanted to come on here and talk to us about that. What's your view? Let me give you these minutes to just school us. Just imagine me at Chikuni Girls. Grade 10 class, learning about this. Please teach me and our viewers out there your thoughts on that. On that. Oh, you know what? I think you may have muted your. Oh, let's unmute you. You are.
You,
All
you
right,
mean
here we
Chikuni
go.
girls under the good leadership of Chief Umfwenoga, right?
Yes, I don't say anything bad about Chief Ufwenuka. He's my.
No, 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 no.
I
I
claim him.
respect,
So go
I respect,
ahead.
I respect my elders. I respect the chiefs, even more than politicians. So you know, because they're custodians of Zambian culture and individual groups of people's ways of life. And I'm starting from there because uh, I'm not sure that I'm ready to comment on the framework that was put out by the permanent secretary, Mr. Joe Kamoko. I know him personally. Uh, I don't know because that framework, like you said, for me, the pudding is in the curriculum.
Correct.
You know, we just he's just still dealing with the numbers to say instead of pre-K is going to be so many years, primary school so many years, form one to so many years. We just dealing with the numbers for right now.
Uh-huh.
But I would like to see the curriculum, and in the curriculum, I'm looking for specifics. One of the specifics is how we're going to deal with technical education, career and
Mm-hmm.
technical education. That's number one. That
Mm-hmm.
that simply means that the curriculum is empowering those K to 12 or K to Form 5, Form 6 students to be ready to go either into college or careers, military or elsewhere. So the curriculum that is intentional in preparing students for post-secondary life
Uh-huh.
or careers. That's one of the things I'm looking for because there's no reason why somebody should be going all the way to Form 5, Form 6, and then go back and be a villager. That is
Uh-huh.
not acceptable. That's a waste of resources, whether family resources or government resources. That means we are preparing people for nothing. I know there is one part of it which to me K Form 6 education is easier to govern a population that is educated. I understand that what is education if you're not going to be a productive citizen of our beloved country. That's so I'm done with that. Number one, career and technical training. Number two, I am looking for cultural education. We learned in school a whole lot about Russian Revolution, British Revolution, American Revolution, Shaka, and all that. We learned a whole lot about that.
Mm-hmm.
This time, I'm looking for an education that is a child in Lugwalo area being exposed to different cultures within Southern Province, different cultures in Western Province, in Northern Province, Eastern Province, Wapula, Central, Northwestern, Copperbelt, cultures of different people within Zambia so that they have an appreciation of the merging of cultures so that people like Kambwiri are not going to brainwash young people with his tribal, rhetorics, his tribal sentiments. Educate the people so that they appreciate the Zambian and African cultures and get an appreciation of those cultures so that these politicians cannot play around with words with a culturally educated population. All right. Number three, I'm looking for an education of self-reliance. Now, that strikes a note for me because if we are going to have an exam system where somebody has to fail for somebody to make it, that means we need an education system that empowers those that are not able to make it to the next level, go out there and be productive citizens other than citizens that are pushed out of an education system and become mischiefs in our society. So I want every person who has gone through an education system to be that person who can be self-reliant, can start small business and all that, and that should come in as empowerment. The colleges and universities should not be the only places where children and students are empowered. It should start early. If you go and start K-3 or K-4 petition of the education system, what empowerment are we giving those students? So the framework, I welcome it, but I need more for me to make a comment on it. Thank you.
Well, we so much appreciate those sentiments coming from, an expert like you. And the reason why I say so, I mean, you sit in a very precious, I would say, very unique, space because I mean, you were educated in Zambia, you went to school there, you went to university there, and you had a chance to teach in one or two schools. So and then on top of that, with your teaching, experience in South Africa, and here you are in the US, doing the same things and even more. So you sit in a very unique place where you can compare, both the good, the bad, and possibly also help the government maybe come up with the best, education policy for our young ones. And this is something that as far back as when I was in grade two, people have been always calling on our government, to change our education policy to suit, the modern times. Because I mean, even now, I still wonder what the meeting of Stanley and David Livingstone in Northern Province has anything to do with what I'm doing now. I mean, we spent almost a year just learning about David Livingstone's travels and Stanley's travels and the relationship and with the Queen, and then we name our most precious, God-given natural wonders after him in Livingstone. When the local people always had a name for that, for the Victoria Falls. So all those nuances and and things that still continue to plague us has to do with our education. So maybe before we move away from that, let's get our accountant in Lusaka, Mr. Mafuta, maybe to comment on that before we move on to the next topic. Mr. Mafuta, do we still have you online or we have lost you?
Very much, very much. I'm very much online. Um, the topic or the draft policy has sort of brought in a bit of mixed reactions. And I'm speaking this from two WhatsApp groups that I belong to.
Mm-hmm.
Others are supporting it, others are not 100% in support. Others believe it is an experiment. Others are asking questions to say what has happened to the STEM. And I think the previous speaker talked about technical education.
Mm-hmm.
The specific question was on the A levels.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, free education extends up to grade 12.
Correct.
So the breaking of secondary education into forms and then 2 years A levels, the big question is the free education going to extend to the A levels? Because currently in Zambia, for you to do A levels, you have to cough quite a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Hence, that route has not been a very good option for most parents because they can't just afford to pay for A levels. So they'll just
Mm-hmm.
prefer with O levels, a child applies to the university.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is quite uh, a significant point that needs to be clarified.
Mm-hmm.
There have been other questions to say, are the A levels going to be mandatory or optional? And I think people
Good
raised
point.
questions
Yeah.
like, does nursing really need A levels? If someone
Mm-hmm.
wants to do nursing, do they really have to go through A levels? I think those are some of the arguments.
Mm-hmm.
Another important point was the STEM program. When it was last introduced, it failed because of lack of qualified people to teach the STEM subjects. The question
Mm-hmm.
is, are we or do we have qualified teachers to teach the A levels? I think
That's
those were the
interesting.
main points I took from the discussions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's interesting, and the fact that 60 years on as an independent country, we say we don't have qualified teachers to take on A levels. So maybe we can bring in briefly Mr. The deep thinker here to answer some of Mr. Mafuta's questions, just in a general way. Of course, we're not speaking for the government, but we're offering our expertise, uh, know-how into some of these things. So hopefully, maybe the government of the day or whoever is responsible in this draft can, they haven't answered those questions in the draft, so maybe it's something that they can take up and give us, the citizen, the answers that we need. Uh, Deep thinker, you have any answers or any clarifications that you want to put out here to very valid and candid points that Mr. Mafuta here has raised? Come on in, deep thinker.
Uh, I went to the University of Zambia a long time ago, and
What is a long time ago? In Walensky's days?
no,
Just kidding. Go
just
ahead.
it's split between Kaunda and Chiluba time. So
Okay.
the University of Zambia at the time, because we only had two universities at the time.
Uh-huh.
it was producing quality scientists to educate our young people there. Here is the difference between, here is why we are saying we don't have qualified people. Is because the previous governments did not think to themselves, or they were not serious enough to take care of its teachers, STEM teachers. They were not serious
Okay.
enough. So as a result, neighboring countries took those people and developed their economies using the knowledge that people gained from the University of Zambia, Copperbelt University, and the secondary school colleges at the time. And that is still happening up to now. When you take care of your people, the people are going to stay because people have needs. Some of those students at the University of Zambia, they were struggling. They came from really, really struggling families.
Mm-hmm.
And for a student to go for 4 years to major in mathematics, physics, chemistry, or biology, and go and teach at Chikuni or Canisius,
Mm-hmm.
and then their peers are in Botswana making 10 times what they're making. And all you need is a passport to go to Botswana.
Mm-hmm.
You see, you lose the brains that you have developed for other people. The new government is taking into consideration the plight of the teachers. And once they finish their program of looking after the teachers, we will have enough people to go in our schools to teach STEM and culture
Mm-hmm.
education.
Oh, great. I guess we lost a deep thinker there. Hopefully he'll be back. He's using Zamtel internet. I can imagine. Okay, I think yeah. For me, I'm just gonna wait until I see the meat, in the draft and in the curriculum before I make any yeah, sort of informed comment on the upcoming education policy. I mean, I'll give them an A+ for actually, starting something as opposed to previous governments that promised, but there was no move. So let's see what happens. This is Zambia. It might take a while before we actually get something off the ground. And here is the deep thinker back again. His Zamto internet is back and running.
Miss Moderator, can I make one last comment
All
on
right,
this
go
issue?
ahead, deep thinker, before we move on to the next
So,
item
so,
on the
so
um,
the only way we can decolonize ourselves, because at this point, almost 60 years in existence as a country,
mhm.
there is no reason why we should not concentrate on our own culture as part of an education system.
Correct.
You know, racism and all these are going to disappear in the future if we don't take care of our cultures, because the British culture is going to take over. And once the British culture takes over, there will be no talk of racism because all our children are British oriented. They have no knowledge of their own culture. And
Uh-huh.
whichever culture, whoever sells their culture successfully, they run the world.
Mhm.
And if they run the world, that means they exploit. That's why we have the British Empire right now. Britain has the most, one of the most gold storage places, they have the most gold in the world. They do not have a gold mine, not even a single one over there, I don't think.
No, they don't.
So where do they get that gold? It's exploitation of one country, uh, by one country exploiting other country to stock their gold.
Hmm.
We need to
Absolutely.
educate our children. We need to educate them about corruption, so that they grow up thinking politics and electing people that are of substance, like the one we have right now. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. So we move on. We move on. The deep thinker. We're just gonna pretend that yesterday didn't happen, and there won't be any rants coming from me at the end of this broadcast on anything related to sports. So we're just gonna pretend yesterday didn't happen. So we move on. Now, on a somber note, we deal with the latest update out of Chingola from that sincerely mine tragedy, where, today I believe it's the day 10. There are about 12 recoveries, one survivor. 7 bodies have been identified, and I believe the government is providing coffins, and the survivors are going to be buried at a mass, a burial at a site identified by the Chingola City Council. Um, and in view of these tragedies, we have seen many businesses in Zambia coming on board to offer, monetary support towards the cause to retrieve those miners, and hopefully, once everything is said and done, the surviving families will get, hopefully a little bit of capital to, sustain themselves. So, Mr. Mafuta, I'm just going to rely on you as somebody who in Zambia right now. What is the what is the I would say the layman's view towards the mine tragedy out of the copper belt? Could you kindly answer that, or you are not in a position to do that?
Well, what I read is that it's quite a heartbreaking occurrence,
Mm-hmm.
um, and we can see that the spirit of Ubuntu, when there's a calamity,
Mm-hmm.
is really taking root. I think everyone is speaking with one voice. Of course,
That's
others
good.
want to gain political mileage
Mm-hmm.
by saying do not call people who want to earn a living as illegal miners, because I think there are some sections that are calling them illegal miners, but others are saying, no, you've not provided jobs. These guys are trying to put food on the table, so you
Mm-hmm.
cannot call them illegal miners.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, yeah, but it's quite heartbreaking situations every time there's something announced, a retrieval of the body, the burial taking place. It's a somber uh, situation.
Correct. Yeah, so sad that we lost our fellow brothers in such a tragedy. Like we mentioned last week, yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, we all know. I mean, I don't think it's illegal mining. Wasn't that mine given to those youths 2 years ago? I think by the new Dawn government. That's a dump site where anybody can go. To go and try to scrap out metal to sell, to buy wunga for your family, or so I think maybe what lacked was the idea that safety, as they did that, should have been of paramount important, because I mean there are videos that we've been watching since the accident happened, where one of those youths did warn the others that, hey, there's rain, rain, and the others just didn't believe it, and so again, we can't apportion blame on anybody. So hopefully, everybody learned from this, and they put up, of course, safety as a priority on that dam site, and hopefully, some of these monies will go towards actually buying safety kits for those that will be engaged into this business. Maybe equipment. I don't know how much money they're going to raise, but I mean, I had, companies, donating as high as 1 million kwacha towards the cause. So hopefully, more people will come in. I mean, like Mr. Mafuta said, the Ubuntu spirit, or I mean, that's the spirit of us Zambians. When we have a tragedy like this, we come to, we hold hands, we come together to make sure that our beloved ones, are given, the dignity that they deserve, as their chapter on this earth, ends. I've said too much. Valentine, you want to comment on that before we move on? Today
Yes,
we
ma'am.
quickly. We don't want to spend
Yeah.
2 hours here,
No,
Valentine.
no,
I have
no,
a
no.
party to go to. Go
Very
ahead.
quickly. Okay. My only comment to that is, uh, in cases of what happened to those young men, I, I don't know how somebody can feel good calling them illegal minors, because in the spirit of Ubuntu, like you both mentioned, we, let's
Uh-huh.
not lose our African culture of mourning and supporting the families of the grieving families. At 60 years old as a country, almost 60 years old as a country, we should have reached the political maturity, uh, to understand some of these things very well. Now, when we start politicizing death, like the 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 the, the, the young man that got trapped in the mines, Tutwa's burial, and I mean Tutwa's anniversary, when we started politicizing that, we like 10, 11, 12-year old people, back and forth. PF, mature, grow up.
Okay.
You got gray hair on your head, and you still playing politics like you 10, 11. Grow up.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. You want them to grow up. Okay. All right. Very funny there. And you just mentioned PF, and we will definitely get to them, because there have been a lot of imingalato going on in the PF camps. So we'll talk about that. I know Deep Thinker always says, well, they're non-factor to me, but I love to talk about them. I can't help myself. So let's go on to the next topic. And that topic is, I think, to me, really, besides the tragedy in Chingala, I think it's the biggest news that would have come out of Zambia this week. And this is the news that for the first time ever, under the the global energy bonds, initiation program, the Copperbelt Energy Company, which is CEC out of the Copperbelt, was awarded the first ever bond amounting to $200 million to add 200 solar energy to the national grid. And this was announced by the small scales minister at the just ended COP28 meeting in Saudi, in Dubai. Um, um, and I mean, I just don't know what to say because I mean, for years we have had a deficit in our energy. The people are experiencing these 8 hours, sometimes 12 hours. At the height of the PF. I mean, we're not going to forget that. 12 hours. Blackouts because electricity was being switched off because there wasn't nothing in a country like Zambia that has all these resources that could produce electricity for everybody and even export. And we're also waiting on that the 200,000 megawatt solar energy that's been promised by the Saudis. Oh my goodness, the Saudis, they are coming strong to the country of Zambia. So and that deal is totaling $2 billion.
Madam Moderator,
Yes,
can I correct you for a minute?
go ahead. What did I lose?
The Saudis are coming to Zambia. Oh my God. Now, Hagainde and UPND, they're bringing investors to the country. Oh my God.
Oh, there goes the dip thinker. I knew that was coming. I just walked into that one.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well then, I mean, I don't have anything to add after that. So basically, what do you think about this new deal? I mean, that's being provided by the African Emergency Fund. Deep thinker.
I have not looked into that at a deeper level, but I'm going to say this. I'm going to go back to the energy piece that you talked about. I just leave Hagainde and UPND to do their work, and they're doing it very well. All I want for this particular piece is for the PF to digest it. And then I want them to Zemberwe.
Oh my goodness! Now, can you, before you go any further, can you go ahead and explain to those that don't understand Tonga, Bazembe? What does that mean?
When you eat too
I
much,
know what it means, but I need you to explain it to my peeps out there.
when you eat too much and the food cannot be digested, it just sits there, and you start reflecting on what you ate and how much you ate. Now,
Oh my goodness!
in the context, I'm saying the PF mismanaged a lot of these things. Now, I want them with Zemberwe so that it can sit there and let them reflect.
Uh-huh.
Because Zemberwa, it means you've eaten now, you reflect on everything that you have done, eaten also. I want them to reflect and say, these people are serious bringing development to the country.
Uh-huh.
And I wanted to sit there so that they don't get it off their minds, and maybe they will come to their senses to say we mismanaged the economy during our tenure. We need to support these people that are in power now because they mean well and they're serious about economic development and growth.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. I mean, I can't top that one. Now let's take a look at our accountant out of Lusaka to give us his viewpoint on the New Deal as somebody who is actually in the capital city of Zambia. Mr. Mafuta, please come in and please educate us on this deal. What does it mean to our local people back home? Oh, did we lose him?
No, he's
That's
there.
Oh, there
that
he
is
is.
that's a great question. In
Uh-huh.
fact, when the deal was announced,
Uh-huh.
that question was posed in our analysis group to
Uh-huh.
say how will the common man benefit,
Mm-hmm.
and there were various responses saying, look, because this thing has to do with climate change, the environment will be protected, and the common man will benefit in future because blah blah blah. So the debate was okay. It really reflected what I would call a very unfortunate situation on the Zambian, especially social media. When
Mm-hmm.
something of such great impact, business related, happens in the country,
Mm-hmm.
there will be very few comments, even from professionals.
Mm-hmm.
But when there is a scandal or a political something,
Uh-huh.
social media, including professionals, will be awash over that particular item.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I call it unfortunate? There's very little debate when it comes to issues of climate change. Very few people are alive to the consequences of this climate change, climate crisis, and even the innovations that are being pursued by companies like CEC to get
Mm-hmm.
what is called to issue what is called a green bond.
Mm-hmm.
So I call it unfortunate. Uh, I think if you ask around, very few people would have taken time to read through. Apparently, I've not been a follower of the capital markets of late because of
Mm-hmm.
its poor performance. I think our stock exchange capital market environment is nothing to compare with a standard stock exchange. I think for you guys who are based there in the States, you know, our capital market doesn't move even when the governor issues his quarterly monetary policy statement. Nothing moves on the
Mm-hmm.
stock exchange. Inflation moves, exchange rate moves. The president said something, our stock market just is quiet. Similarly, a development for CEC, which is a listed company like a green bond, you are supposed to see some shaking even in its share price, but nothing has moved
Mm-hmm.
even in the CEC share price. So, an area which needs a bit of financial redress to a lot of Zambians. To a lot
Mm-hmm.
of Zambians, it doesn't make sense to them. They don't see what is in it for them. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Mr.
Madam,
Mafuta. And let me just add on one or two things there before the deep thinker comes in, because you are just made me segue into this next topic that we want to talk about. Um, so I'm gonna give you a challenge. What's today's date? The 10th of December, 2023. I would say next. No, in 2 weeks, I need you to come back on this podcast. We would like to do a little what we call, this is going to be our first initial review of the happenings in Zambia, especially the economy for this year. I'd like you to come in there and just give us your viewpoints on the general economic performance of the country, and probably maybe project a few things that you think might happen in next year, 2024. So that's your challenge. I need you to come back for that. Having said that, before I comment, I want to hear a no or yes, Mr. Mafuta, for your 2 weeks challenge. Are you coming back? or not?
Would you like me to come back?
Of course. I mean, if you can make it every week, that would be lovely. But yes, we want you back. Yeah, we want you back. We want you back. 100%. So is that a yes or no, Mr. Mafuta?
Uh, Let me give it a thought.
Okay. Well, you know what to do.
I avoid publicly commenting on my assessment of the economy
Uh-huh.
because as an accountant, when you comment on economic issues, even the economists, they don't get moved. They only get moved when what you say comes to pass and you remind them. Because economists do believe that they have the all-wise knowledge on economics. But I think that has proven them wrong, looking at the challenges we are currently facing. If you read, all economists have kept quiet over what is happening to the inflation, to the exchange rate, to the debt restructuring, to the cost of living. So they are stuck with their textbook theories and tools. And we are saying, guys, here's your chance to show yourselves how to turn around the economy. We are advocating to say textbook tools must be shelved and we need to look at other methods that are tailored to our own situations. Those textbooks are for the advanced countries. Our problems are unique. But that's a big argument between us accountants, financial analysts, and typical economists. So I try to take that debate into the public domain and restrict it to a small group.
No, we want you to come back because on this podcast we believe in numbers. Over here, numbers speak the loudest because that at the end of the day is what translates into my uncle in Lugualo village, either buying, 10 heads of cattle or not, or buying fertilizers for his field. So we believe in numbers. So please come back. Forget about the nuances around, you being an accountant or who believes in what. We just want to know what the numbers looks like now, what the projections are for 2024. It's as simple as that. There you have it, Mr. Mafuta. Are you in or are you out?
I'm in.
Oh, great. That's what we wanted to hear. Okay, now I was just gonna. What was I? I was just going to answer on your view on your stock exchange. As somebody that buys stocks in this country, the last 2 years, because some of us sometimes vote based on the profits that I get out of our stock market, and seriously speaking. The business of buying stocks and observing stocks in this country, these last 2 years have just been heartbreaking, to say the least. So that's my little answer to your comment on this stock exchange. So yeah, we are having our own challenges here too, and even inflation for the first time, the U.S. have a double-digit number in so many years. So I think the economy just the world over is just going crazy, right, Deep Thinker?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Madam Moderator, I have a question for Wamafuta.
Go ahead, ask him.
So, after your analysis, I followed it very well, and you talked about poor poor performance of the economy. Now, the question to you is that poor performance of the economy, I don't call it poor, I call it restructuring of the economy, but that's from a layman point of view. Do you think, as Zambians, we're looking for instant growth, given where we're coming from with the PF? Because in physics, we say if something heavy is on a free fall coming down and you want to catch it before it hits the ground, it doesn't stop right there when it hits your arms. It will go down, it will continue with the deceleration before you start bringing it up again. So that's what I see in the Zambian economy. I don't know if that is the case or there's just a free fall and it's going to hit the ground, in your analysis.
Okay, just to correct, if I said the economy is performing poorly, maybe that was a slip of the tongue. It is performing in an unusual manner and not according to the initial projections. If you recall, you look at the 2023 budget, the 5 economic objectives in the budget, you will notice that almost all of them have not been achieved, and the year is coming to an end. The inflation target has not been brought to the 6 to 8% digit. The GDP growth, we know that 2023 is actually worse than last year. So meaning that the growth side also hasn't been good. Of course, our economy is exposed to external factors that have contributed to these variables to perform like this. Like right now, if there is anything that is giving us sleepless nights, I even wonder if the Honorable Minister Msokotwane is sleeping, is the recent stalemate between private creditors and the official creditors on the debt restructuring. Our 2024 budget has been anchored on a successful debt restructuring, and a lot of programs in the budget hinge upon the fact that we are going to conclude. But if you look at the stance taken by the official creditors and the impasse with the private creditors, it shows that our budget execution will be negatively impacted if this impasse is not resolved as soon as possible. So with all these external factors, you will find that government hands are tied. The plan is there, which shows where we want to be, because we know where we are coming from, the damage that the colleagues did. In fact, for some of us, we are saying these guys should have been in jail. We should have laws.
Okay.
Seriously speaking, this is not a joke. We are saying if we are serious with the fight against corruption, we need to enact laws that criminalize economic sabotage. You cannot have people go to borrow recklessly to affect people who are not yet born. When you look at the debts that have been restructured, you read that statement by the minister, we are talking of debts like 2043. 2043. A child born today will be 23 years old, and we are talking of a debt that was contracted by people who I don't know whether they will still be alive. The same period we have extended the debt should have been the same period these guys should have also served in jail. So that the causes of this problem, they are also feeling the pain. So my brother, the roadmap is there, except all the targets we set are off compared to the actual. When you talk of ZRA, there's a report currently which is yet to be validated. The tax revenue collection is already below what was projected. What does that mean? That means that funding for programs that were planned will not be implemented. So we look at different factors and we look at what we wanted to achieve at the beginning and where we are, and then we say, and we pass a conclusion when we say we are not doing very well. And maybe just to add on a word which was a bit scary coming from someone respected, the Bank of Zambia governor alluded to the fact that the Zambian economy is sick. He alluded to the fact that if Zambia was a private company, it should have been shut. I think the recordings are there in his quarterly media statements. That shows the gravity of the problems the PF created. Experts are stuck in terms of implementing the solutions, but the roadmap is there. And we will need a lot of fiscal discipline, proper governance in order to reach that roadmap. The roadmap is very clear, very bright, but of course there are these external factors that are preventing us to realize our goal soon. Thank you.
Well articulated, Mr. Mafuta,
Yes,
and this is why I am saying 2 weeks from now is a good time when we can all meet up again and really focus on the positives, the negatives, and going forward of the Zambian economy, because it's needed. So our citizens can learn a thing or two. And now, Mr. Deep Thinker, do you want to rebut on that before I move on to the next topic? Because I just have to move on to the next topic.
Yeah, the only thing the only thing I wanted to say about that is that the roadmap is well designed, but you can never project the sabotage along the way from, he called them our colleagues, but I'm going to call it the PF, the sabotage from the PF. You cannot predict how they're going to implement their sabotage to the growing of the economy. So instead of helping the governing party to understand the evils that existed during PF, they're still fighting and trying to protect themselves from the things that they did.
Hold that thought, because we are coming back to discussing the Imingala toast in the PF right after this.
Yes.
So now we have been joined by a colleague of mine, Mr. Kelvin Jambwa, and he's here specifically to talk about one of my favorite, topics. If you remember last week, the deep think, I even had to go get a glass of wine because of that. So, and this week, I will go back to having a glass of wine because of that. Anyway, so the next topic is, last week we had our former information minister, Mr. Kambwili Chishimba, being convicted for hate speech and sentenced for 5.5 minutes. Oh, did I say 5.5 minutes? I'm so sorry. 5.5 months in jail. And he, of course, appealed. And thank goodness the state has also appealed, stating the sentence is too short. And I'm so happy to hear about that. So maybe before we even go any further, Mr. Jambwa, welcome to the podcast. Can you hear me?
Yes, good evening, everyone, and yes, a pleasure to join the chat.
Oh, appreciate it, Mr. Damboy. Good, definitely good evening to you. I'm very honored that you came in and joined us this evening, specifically to talk about Mr. Kambwili's conviction and the subsequent appeals from both him and the state. Uh, What's your take on that? Because I know you and I have been going back and forth, working in the background. In this case, what are your thoughts to the whole the sentence and the
Okay,
conviction?
so in the first place, when the conviction came up, of course, I was much as it was welcomed, so that you could deter future potential offenders,
Mm-hmm,
especially as we head towards 2026. My
mm-hmm,
take, of course, was that the sentence itself was a bit too short. I
mm-hmm,
remember raising concern with some of the people that had been advocating to like stamp out tribalism. I talked to a
mm-hmm,
few legal minds, and I was a bit taken aback when we heard that Mr. Gambira had appealed, because the 5 months literally was too short. We thought that it could be something maybe 1 year, 6 months, or something like that. So it was a welcome development that the DPP had obviously countered that. And then we hope that once the appeal, not really the appeal, but once the submission by the DPP takes hold, we hope
mm-hmm,
that we hope that the sentence can be increased to
mm-hmm,
probably maybe a year or so. We think that with the current situation happening in our country, as we head towards 2026, we will get to hear a lot more of these tribal sentiments coming up. The other
mm-hmm,
perpetrators, of course, I mean, there have been people like, my former boss, I think Mr. Mimbe, Mr. Tembo from the Patrols for Economic Progress, and a few others, obviously, who've been playing the sound of like tribalism trump card, which I think is not has no room in the politics of our country. So for now, it's my hope that once the intervention of the DPP this takes hold, and we hope that the sentence can be increased. I'm very sure that Mr. Kambwili's appeal will obviously not be successful. So the bottom line is we need to discourage people, regardless of political affiliation, to use a tribal card to like advance their political, their politics. I think that's got no room for our nation.
mm-hmm. Oh,
That's my take.
great. Great, great. Yeah, absolutely. So anybody for me really that's want to join us, as you say that, yeah, we are, we appreciate the appeal. I just think that, and I'm not being, prejudicial here when I say that. I think our judges need to go for a refresher course um, in just the social political commentaries is involved, because they don't understand the effects. They think this is, politics. They don't understand the effects of my 5-year-old, niece or nephew growing up in the Gualo village or Shikatende, hearing these politicians day in day out spewing, hate speech or tribal speech against them, because we don't know what's going to happen to those kids 10, 20, 30 years from now, just, from their own, self-confidence, in themselves as human beings, so all those, repercussions right now are not known. And so there's need for these judges to really look deeper in their hearts and, follow the penal code. The penal code says at least somebody has to spend 2 years. It's simple as that. So, and then you come up with a 5. I mean, it feels like a slap in the face to me. But now that's me speaking passionately about something that I believe in. So we definitely appreciate Mr. Jamba here, my colleague, coming on here and joining us and sharing his views on that. And the fight is still on. And let me at this point bring in Mr. Mafuta just to speak on that before we go to the deep thinker. Mr. Mafuta, the state appealing the 5 months conviction given to Mr. Kambuli for the hate speech during his campaigns in the last election. Your thoughts on that, sir?
I was very happy to hear that the state is appealing. I was extremely disappointed when I heard about the verdict of 5 months imprisonment. We know how damaging hate speech can be in a nation. I think the whole world knows what happened in Rwanda. It was out of such hate speech. It can divide a nation. It can destroy so many things. And this was a missed opportunity for the judiciary to express and deliver a judgment that will go out to the whole world to show that Zambia is not a place where you can use hate speech.
Mm-hmm.
It should have been a landmark, world-class judgment, and it should have sent shockwaves to all political players, to all races, to every ethnic grouping. But the judiciary missed it. And I was saying to myself, wow, is this maybe that's why John Sangwa said the judiciary has gone rogue? Such judgments, for sure.
He's right on that one. He's on the money.
Yeah. How do you get such a judgment over such a serious matter? Those are my brief comments.
Oh, great. The deep thinker, come in on Chimba's verdict. Oh, have we lost him? Oh, unmute yourself, the deep thinker. Oh, we still can't hear you. I can see you raising. Oh, he's using Zamtel. His Zamtel internet today is off the chain. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Mr. Mafuta, you've hit, the nail on the right spot there. Yeah, we all thought that was going to be a landmark, decision from the judiciary, and look at what we got, and even the 5 months. Mr. Kambwili himself is appealing, saying the sentence doesn't match his crime. So we'll see how it goes. I know my colleague here, Kelvin, who just dropped off, says he doesn't think that the judge they're going to rule otherwise. So, deep thinker, come in there. We're still discussing the ruling. I mean, the state appeal on Chimba Kambwili's conviction on hate speech. Your comment there, of course, you heard my colleague Kelvin Jambo's sentiments here. Your thoughts, sir?
I am I'm happy that a message has been sent out. But for me, uh, those of you that have been on this forum for a while, you know where I stand with the UPND government and how they're doing things. So I have full confidence in the judiciary.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think the 6 months is right? I don't. Do I accept it? Yes, I do. Because this is a test for the UPND government to show that that's a different arm of government that they're not going to interfere
Uh-huh.
with. Because if it was the PF, there would have been a Sugo by now.
Oh. Okay, hold on, deep thinker. What is Gasuo? You know you are to
You,
explain it to non-speaking Tongas. What is Gasuo?
you know that Sugo is the dust in the mouth when you're running. That Gasugo, the dust that flies off, or when there's a whirlwind, that Gasugo.
Uh-huh.
There would have been trouble if HH as an opposition leader was given 6 months for tribal remarks. There would have been confusion right now, even probably the firing of judges. So the UPND government is
Uh-huh.
demonstrating that we don't agree with the 6 months, but we're not going to interfere with your work because you don't interfere with ours. We do our work. When you're wrong, you tell us we're wrong and you give the judgment and we'll keep it moving. This
Mm-hmm.
is a clear demonstration of how a government should run.
Mm-hmm.
You don't interfere, you don't flex your muscle because you are the government of the day. So that's where I stand. Things that the UPND government and the branches of the government are doing, it's a process, and I respect that process.
Okay, great.
I might not agree with it, but I respect it.
Okay. I guess like I always say, deep thinker. Let me not go there. Let me not go there. But yeah, so we hope for the best, and I can't wait for more cases that are going to be brought on if they haven't been yet on. The former post managing director, who is now Socialist Party president, um, Mr. Freddie Membe, on his tribal runs that he's been running since he seems to think that that's his path to presidency. And what about that member of parliament from Lumezi, Munia Zulu, and also Sean Temple. I mean, these people tend to think that they live in I don't know, a vacuum. Like, come on now, we are on the streets of Lusaka. I mean, they encounter people from Rwanda. You know that those are our neighbors. It all started with somebody going on radio and calling um, the other tribe cockroaches before the other tribe, went on and killed millions of people based on that. And in the last 20 years, I mean, at least from my own opinion or from how far my memory can go. I mean, I've seen, people come on the political scene. I mean, starting with Michael Sata himself calling us, Tongas. Because I am, so I can't exclude myself, even if I don't live in the country now. But I do have family members, that feel, in some kind of way, because of all these sentiments. I mean, look at Kambuli himself, where he said he couldn't, he would rather eat with a dog than a Tonga. I imagine if the Tongas, one day just decided to wake up and say, "Look, we've had enough." You know, what that country of ours would remain if if we went the violent route. So hopefully, I mean, like what everybody else has said, this will serve as a deterrent to would-be culprits to know that if you use any hate speech, going forward, yeah, you stand a chance of sharing a cell with the one popularly known as Imbwili. Okay. Mr. Jambwa, unless if you have anything more to add to that topic.
Yes, indeed. Coming back to the same topic, there have been instances during the start of the year. I'll give an example. For instance, on some time back in March, on March 28th this year, there are certain comments that Munia Zuri issued, I think, and I'll quote. He said, I think he had just been, he was released from police custody, and then upon release, he issued a statement, and I quote, he said, the people of Lumezi more intelligent than the people of
that
Wangwa.
one, yes. Go ahead.
And it went, and such comments, a lot of similar comments have been tolerated in the past to seem like it's normal. And you would imagine how the people that come from Wengwa would feel about such sentiments.
Exactly.
And the national leader
I'm one of them.
proudly issuing that, and he was apparently cheered on by some of our leaders in the opposition, because they saw political capital out of it, and it gets tolerated in our society. Now, for a person like me, for instance, I'm married to an Easterner. I come from Namwala. My wife is from Chipata. My children, they speak. I mean, they're literally like Easterners and Southerners. And then you have a national leader issuing such statements, and then he's cheered on by some of the leaders of our opposition parties, and it gets tolerated like it's a norm. That's why, coming back to the issue of Mr. Kambwili, it's also my hope. I was just after I had one of the panelists issuing a statement, and the penal code is actually 2 straight years. I was having a review of some of the, I think, the citations in the Constitution. It's actually 2 years. So it is my hope that such sentiments in the past with a proper, sentence will have it will have a deterring effect. And there's been a lot of I know that we'll get more of such things as we head towards the next elections. I think it's something that we have to really push in our legal system to take a hard stance against such vices.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what we need to hope for, and that's why, as people, we have to band together and champion such causes, because we cannot have these politicians divide us on tribal lines. I mean, 60 years on, I mean, if we look in our own families, our own nuclear families, there is no such thing as, a pure somebody breed. Because, I mean, for me, I look at my own family. I've got brothers who are Bembas. I've got nieces who are Tumbukas, cousins who are Lozis. So, how do I look at somebody or based on their tribal lines? It's just disheartening listening in, day out. These politicians spew this hate speech. So maybe Kelvin, you and I, at some point, we need to, as media, professionals, maybe we need to run a course, because you just mentioned on that the you just reminded me of the incident on Munia Zulu, when he was issuing that statement of the people of Rumezi are more intelligent than the people of Wenga. Maybe as a media, as a media in Zambia, it's high time we started blocking out such statements. Because if we are the ones that actually carry these stories and bring them to the fore every day, and as a result, they build traction. So maybe before you answer that, I think we have a new entrant, Mr. Clifford Musebula. Welcome to our podcast, sir. Right now, we're in the middle of discussing the state appealing Mr. Imbwili's sentence on that hate speech conviction in Kasama. Do you have any comments that you want to bring to the fore for us?
Thank you very
Please
much.
go
Good
ahead.
evening, madam. Thank you very much and good evening.
Good evening, sir. Welcome.
Thank you. No, the English statement is very, very unfortunate to our beloved country, Zambia. Anyways, good that now the law in Zambia is straightforward and it is catching up with him. I hope they will continue controlling and barring people from using such bad language against their fellow Zambians. Anyway, madam, I'll contribute more as we go on. Since I have just joined, let's continue.
Oh, thank you, sir. We appreciate your comments. Every comment, every word is appreciated on this podcast. So, Calvin, I had posed a question to you as a media practitioner. Do you think maybe we need to also look at the media, fraternity in Zambia towards coverage?
Yes, definitely. Obviously, I mean, they've been in the run up to the, I think, 2021 elections. There was a bit of polarization in the media.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there are certain media where you find that there's some sort of ethical standards that are practiced. Mostly in the government-owned media, but at some point you notice that at some point you find that even government-owned media could be abused by the politicians to like toe a certain line. But obviously, it starts with the media, both private and government-owned, to obviously adhere to certain ethical standards in terms of the way we report things. As alluded to by some example given by one of our panelists, the issue of Rwanda, that started to blow up in the media, where one person calls, other people cockroaches, and then those people also obviously react. So we will definitely need to sort of engage media owners, editors, I think, to have more some sort of like workshops tailored towards ethical reporting, especially with regards to issues of ethnicity and tribal remarks, and just pumping up that we know that there are certain media obviously who would want to like pursue that agenda for maybe for their copy sales, but in the long run, obviously, that is damaging to our society as a whole. So obviously, we need to, those of us in the media, obviously, need to probably through the Ministry of Information, and also maybe the independent media institutions such as there's Zima and others.
Yes.
Obviously, arrange more of deliberate training of workshops or just sensitization or promotions toward targeting media owners and also the journalists themselves, so that like the censorship, not really censorship, but the adherence to certain ethics, I think starts at that level before obviously it props up to the public. Because all these things obviously are coming out because of what is in the media. There's certain things obviously that can be blacked out deliberately in order to uphold certain standards and also to protect our nation from such divisions, which is really not necessary.
Absolutely fantastic. So we leave that issue there until we get updates from the courts. We move on to the deep thinker's favorite topic of all time, the imingalatos. Now, I learned last week imingalato means dribbling in Bemba, in the PF. I don't even know where to start from. Oh my God. Okay, so maybe we start off with Mausampa's faction going ahead and expelling 9 MPs from the Edgar Lungu faction, namely Brand Mundubile, Kapiongo, Shilangwa, and so many others for attended, party functions that were not functioned or sanctioned actually by the so-called, the New Patriotic Front under Mausa was rebranded. I don't even know where to go with all that. And then, of course, the expelled MPs and their supporters had their own presser, basically accusing the UPNP government of using Mausampa to carry on this, agenda to in a layman's language, kill the PF. So that's one faction. And then yesterday we saw the police moving in Kabwe. I think, was that Kabwe or Lusaka? Somebody needs to correct me on that. Stopping the ECL faction from holding that memorial on Tutangurube. I think it's a year now since he passed. And so, according to insiders, the PF, the ECL faction intended to use that memorial for their own political, mileage, and so the family heard about it. They cancelled. So there's that confusion. Let me start with Mr. Mafuta. You've been too quiet before. Of course, the deep thinker, I know he has a lot to say there. But Mr. Mafuta, let me start with you. Where are we going with the PF? And who is going to be the presidential candidate at the end of these Imingalatos? Who is going to be on the ballot? Your opinion on that question, Mr. Mafuta.
This thing is so confusing.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did a small analysis on this matter,
mm-hmm.
I found that there was one institution that should have done a professional job to prevent all this nonsense.
Uh-huh.
But because there was an incompetent, formerly PF appointed person to oversee this particular institution, we are seeing this in Mingarata. And what am I talking about?
Uh-huh.
On social media, we have seen different copies of people purporting to be office bearers.
Uh-huh.
With the stamps bearing the registrar of society. At the moment, we cannot even say which one is the authentic copy of the true office bearers of PF. But if you follow the laws under the Societies Act, a compliant association, including a political party, should file in returns, including when there is a change of office bearers.
Mm-hmm.
What I noticed on those forms being shown on social media is that in the 2021 PF Central Committee, they elected new leaders, and there is a copy of a document, change of leaders. But if you look at that document closely, at the corner there, it is written pending documents, meaning the documents that were filed at the Registrar of Society were incomplete for them to effect the changes in the system.
Okay.
That is my analysis. When Mao Zedong also held his convention, he submitted a similar form, which is basically a form to say we have changed office bearers. And the registrar, when they receive, they stamp that form. Now, what we don't know is whether he had all the complete documents accompanying that form. My assumption is that that application to change office bearers must have been filed in the same file where the other one for 2021 was also filed pending documents, such that both of these applications were never effected in the system, because they couldn't effect them in the system because they had incomplete documentation. And for you to effect in the system, you must make sure that this association has complied with all the requirements. Then there was this printout that was purported to have been as a result of a court order, which showed totally different office bearers, some of them even before the PF was properly organized. And that was now purported to have been, that's the correct position. Now, you want to say, if the computer printout is not even updated when there have been all these internal changes and people submitting, what was going on at the Registrar of Societies? It means people were not working. They were receiving the documents, stamping them as received, but not processing in the system. For whatever reason, only the registrar can answer. Was it incompetence on their part? We don't know. But what we know is that the office bearers at the Registrar of Societies were part of the PF. So whether they were taking it casually, all these things happening, knowing they are controlling it, it has backfired on them. And for me, all I can wait is let's see what the court ruling will be. But I can see that it might end up in tears for both parties. They might actually not even be a PF going forward. The parties contending for the name of PF, they might end up just forming their own individual parties under a different name, because the confusion is just too big to even really to see where this thing is going, unless the court has different evidence. But this is what I've seen. There's total chaos.
Well, I mean, that's what we have all seen, because I actually every day there's something propping up. I don't even know where to go. Well, as far as the PF is concerned, I don't know. It's like you say, it's absolutely confusing. So let me tap on my fellow journalist here, Kelvin. Yeah, please educate us. Maybe you know more than what we do, what we know over here. What's going on in the PF?
In the first place, the confusions happening in the PF were primarily caused by our former president. I think the
I
time
agree with that totally, 100%.
when he resigned from politics. He handpicked someone to act as the party party president. Of course, was given a substantive position as vice president, and then acting as president of the party. But then somehow he did not want the records at the Registrar of Societies to change. And I lived in the same street as our 60th president. That year, of course, we would see him, we'll bump into the road when he does the morning runs and things of that sort. But then what was surprising was that there used to be endless meetings almost every other day with the top PF brass, like always been found at his home. Of course, that time he had state security. Part of the reason was I think if he was sharp enough, what he would have done obviously was to, because we knew that obviously he left politics, I think, out of using emotions. I think he never really wanted to like leave politics. So what he would have done, probably he would have like let the convention go ahead. PF would have chosen a substantive leader, and then maybe towards 2026, you would have maybe come out smartly and maybe using the Central Committee to sort of sidestep the substantive president and then be on the ballot. That was going to be a smart way to do things. But then he obviously wanted to like appear to have resigned, but he was still the main person like controlling activities. He didn't want the convention to go ahead. So that gave room to like this confusion in the party. Of course, Mao's if you remember back in 2014, we had two parallel conventions, one led by
absolutely.
And Mao was elected president that time. And then the PF camp, the actual PF camp that time was backed by Lung, who was, I think, Minister of Justice and I think Defense at the same time, and SG. So obviously it was easy to manipulate his legal jargons, constant judgments, and then it knocked out the other guy. So it created a lot of bitterness. And then Mao's obviously, that's about 9-10 years ago. So we've seen a repeat of what happened last time, and then he was dribbled that time, the so-called Mingalato. So right now it's very confusing. Of course, on the ground, the PF on the ground is a ECO faction, obviously that's like appears to have the reins of power. But legally, if you follow the Registrar of Societies and according to the constitution, to the laws of the country, on paper it's a mouse sample. If a by-election will be held today, ECZ obviously they will accept nominations from the mouse faction and reject the ones from the ECO faction, which is because that's what the law says now, according to the records of the Registrar of Societies. So as things stand, it's total confusion. If PF obviously continue on that path without reconciling, I see them like in future elections having like two parallel candidates at each election, and then obviously ECZ will want to like adhere to what's at the Registrar of Societies, and that means the party is getting destroyed. It's destroying itself. Of course, there's an option that Mr. Longo might want to go into a pact with Mr. Membe. But then those are two different, they've got different ideologies. Mr. Membe obviously is a socialist.
That's my question. Why would you go into partnership with? Yeah, exactly. Go ahead.
He made it clear that he's not into any serious talks for any pact with anyone. I think him is ideological. I think he's got a certain line of thinking in his politics. That may also be a problem. So as things stand, as we go towards 2026 with the PF in its current state, I foresee a situation in terms of what happened to UNIP in 1996, where you end up not participating in elections, and then that marks the death of your party if they don't resolve their internal issues. I don't see any chance of any reconciliation between the ECA and Mouse faction at dime, unless maybe Mr. Lungu wants to form a different party, because legally, on the ground, of course, it's a PF ECL that obviously has the numbers and the crowds, but legally and on paper is Mao Sampa. You can't like obviously toss him away at this stage, unless like unless we get other rulings in court. But as things stand, is total confusion. It's very confusing. I mean, they are. I've got personal friends. Personal friends in the PF who obviously are confused. They don't know the direction as things stand.
Which
So
is
it's
very sad.
really unfortunate.
I mean, and all their court battles. I mean, we just saw the injunction against brought in by Mr. Munduwe being thrown out. I mean, there have been injunction, being brought in by the ECO faction that's being thrown out every day. They are losing those cases. Even having Makebi, Zulu, Moneyback Zulu is not even helping. Deep thinker, I have to come back to you. I mean, you've heard our guest sentiments who are actually in Zambia, giving us a rundown of the Imingalato in PF. I know you always said, you don't care about the PF, but I know you have something to say. Come in now and speak your piece, or forever hold your breath.
I don't know. I might have to hold my breath on that. well, that confirms why I keep saying that PF is a non-factor. But I want to bring one thing to everybody's attention.
Mm-hmm.
If it was UPND government that was in the state where PF is now, in a state of confusion with the two presidents running, there would have been bloodshed in the streets of Lusaka, Copperbelt, Zambia, period. So these people, as they are fighting for presidents of their the party, they need to realize that they're doing that in a very peaceful manner, running to court and all that. That's how a government needs to run the affairs of a country.
Mm-hmm.
Peace is number one. Safety is number one. So they're running around in peace. Hakainde would not have been running around in peace if there was a parallel UPND party competing for presidents.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So Lungu is a non-factor. He's just there to bring confusion. Membe is a non-factor because his ideology, I don't think they connect with the Zambians or anybody. They don't even connect with him.
Mm-hmm.
So just leave them alone. Let them deal with that in a very peaceful manner. They will resolve their problems. UPND is not there to resolve their problems. No, they need to do that. But what they cannot do is to weaken the democratic process by destroying opposition in parliament.
Well, that might be where we're going. I mean, if you look at it, that might be where we are going. And for me, really, I want to see a very strong. I've never been PF. I've never supported whatever they stand for. But I support the idea of us having a very strong opposition party in the
Correct.
country, because we need a strong opposition party to offer checks and balances to the new Dawn government. That we cannot just leave the new Dawn government to do whatever they want.
But at the same time, Madam Moderator, I'm sorry. At the same time, when they destroy the institution of opposition, strong opposition in parliament and in the country, they can't turn around and say HH and UPND, they are bringing back the one-party system. Now that they need to know that they can't bring that conversation up because they are destroying themselves.
Valentine. Anyway, hold that thought. Let me bring in the one and only who has been listening in for like forever. Our very own Mr. Kalapa out of Minnesota. I'm pretty sure he has a lot to say on the Imingalatos PF. Mr. Kalapa, welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you have any comments on the last week's Imingalatos in the PF? The
No
expulsion of those 9 MPs from the ECL-led faction and the subsequent press conferences stating, that they're essentially accusing UPND government of sponsoring the demise of the PF in the country. We also had the court ruling against Mr. Brad Mundubile, who went to court filing an injunction essentially restraining Malsamba from being the duly elected PF leader. Your comments on any of those, that's where we at.
Okay. I think on the expulsion of the PF MPs, that one, Mao Sampa he's trying to show them that he has the power than Lungu, and then what he did, it was good for his faction because he instilled fear in the other MPs that if you don't do what I'm telling you, you follow these guys, this is what will happen to you. I can cause the by-election the whole country, because that's what the constitution says. He has the power. He's the president of PF, even if they don't like him. But what it appears is secretly other people will start supporting him. That's how things will be, because Lungu has no story to tell the people. All these problems, for example, the economy is not even doing bad. We have other countries in Africa that are in big trouble. It's on that I think our ministers, they don't bring home what UPND is trying to do. That's why the problem is. Otherwise, for the expulsion of all those MPs, whoever is remaining now, people like JJ Banda, I know he's independent, he won't be vocal because all his friends are gone. Very soon we'll have by-elections, which is good, because all those guys that were kicked out, those are the hardcore members or followers of Lungu. So now they'll be out. Even if they'll be speaking in the street, they'll be useless. So they all the 2 years they've been there in parliament, I'm sure they owe tons of money to the government because they took some loans. Now they're sweating. How are they gonna return back the money? So he has paralyzed them. Thank you.
All right. Interesting, comments there, Mr. Kalapa. But for me, I still say we need a very strong opposition party in the country to offer checks and balances. And what is going on in the PF? It's confusing to me. It's confusing to the common man and woman on the streets of Lusaka. They need to resolve this fast, like yesterday. We can't have UPND just running circles in the country. I mean, we know they have very sound and good policies for the country, but we all know that if left unchecked, they would go the wrong way, and we don't want that because we know where we're coming from with the PF. they are confused right now because, I mean, like everybody else has been saying, they did not follow the rules. I mean, they employed people who, of course, supported their agenda. I mean, it's well documented in their manifesto. For you to be employed as a civil servant in the PF government, you have to be a supporter, you have to be a cadre. And that's where all these confusion in the basically in the PF, to me, they stem from. And the better the leaders in PF, especially the NCO faction, realizes that, the further, I think the better for everybody, because there's no need to go on air and start, claiming shrinkage of the democratic space, when you don't even have your facts and numbers. You can't tell the people which barometer you're using, which yardstick you're using to measure the shrinkage of the democratic space. You can't just come out in public and just give us all these wild statements without numbers to back that up. And I think before we end here, because somebody gotta go, one gotta go. It's been a long 2 hours here today. And I don't know if you have people have noticed my voice is not up to speed today. I'm losing it. I think I'm coming down with something. Hopefully not COVID, because the COVID numbers here are going up again. Winter is here. We want to talk about um, the recent report that came out of the weather department in Zambia, or actually it's Southern Africa, basically letting us know that we should anticipate severe drought, in most of our areas, starting from southern all the way to the Copper Belt. Maybe you, my guest today, may have one or two things to say on that. We start with the man himself, the deep thinker. I know he has a number of things to talk about there in terms of the El Nino effect that basically being experienced everywhere. Because even here, it was almost 60 degrees yesterday, and we're in the middle of winter. This is strange. I just want one day of snow, please, whatever happens. The deep thinker, you want to comment on the weather report prediction in Southern Africa?
Yeah, yes. This. Hunger is one of the things that threatens political scenarios in Africa. If country that cannot feed itself, you know, cannot go around, being proud of, their economic or political developments in the country. So we need to look at this drought seriously. My take on it is that, like, when I was younger, there is what we used to call gahwamba. I don't know what it's called, but we used to call it gahwamba. Gahwamba is the crop that you plant and matures within a short period of time. So I would encourage people in drought affected areas to plant ikawamba, so that even if the rain goes, they will have something to eat. Otherwise, we need to, as a government, we need to start making plans of how we're going to feed the country for the next 2 years or more. Because if we concentrate on just next year how to feed the country, then that will be more or less like being short-sighted. We need a long-term plan on how to feed the people. There are two things that are very, very important: shelter and food. They're very, very important, and we need to have conversations about these two things as soon as possible so that we are not overtaken by events. Because if we are not careful, the PF and these other political parties, they are going to exploit uh, the drought and hunger situation in the country and come back to plunder some more. They will take even the development that we have put in place right now, they'll take it and then enrich themselves.
Very wise advice from the deep thinker there. Mr. Kalapa, you have some sentiments or advice that you want to add on there?
No, thank you.
All right, deep thinker and Mr. Kalapa, I think we lost all my other guests that were here. I think we need to wind up because somebody gotta go. I gotta go. I have stuff to do today. I am being expected somewhere. And like I said in the beginning, we are just going to pretend like yesterday didn't happen. Because of that,
I'm going to
I
put
have
my
no
camera
rant.
on. I'm
What?
going to put my camera on for this one.
What are you saying? Deep thinker, what are you saying?
No,
I
I'm just
just said,
listening.
let's pretend yesterday didn't happen.
Why?
And me personally, me, myself, and I have nothing to say. I have no rant today.
We learned from
It's
the
a
past.
shocker.
Come on, and we need that rant.
No. I have nothing to say. I have no rant. I'm just going to pretend like yesterday didn't happen. Obviously, deep thinker, you have something to say. It's it's now my honor and privilege, viewers and listeners, to listen to the deep thinkers rant this week.
So I just have a question. Yesterday was Saturday. I wished my friends a happy Sabbath, and you come in on this forum and say there was no yesterday. Pretend there was no yesterday. No. We can't do that. I want to hear. I want to.
From my point of view,
No,
I just said I'm going to pretend like yesterday didn't happen,
no.
and
Tell us
I
why.
end there.
Tell us why.
What?
Mm-hmm.
No, I have no reason. I don't owe anybody anything for wanting to make myself feel better by pretending yesterday didn't happen.
Oh, okay. We can talk about Manchester
This is one
United.
of my coping mechanism. I pretend. So I'm living in the pretend world.
Okay, talk about Manchester United then. You
Oh
can
no, I
pretend
don't
on.
even want to talk because if I do, then a whole host of Manchester United fans are going to come on here and eat me alive. So I am not even going to say anything about Manchester United, and I'm living in my own world. I'm pretending yesterday never happened. Go on with your rant,
I do
Deep
not.
Thinker. It's your day.
I do
This is
not
the first time you are
subscribe.
catching me without nothing to say. Go ahead.
I do not subscribe to the philosophy that your suffering is my joy. But since yesterday, it didn't happen for you. My today is happening for me, and I'm saying Arsenal's loss is my joy.
That's a good one.
Arsenal's loss is my joy.
Bakalapa, please. I'm all by myself now, okay?
You are on your own.
Even Mr. Chilufia failed to show up today because of you two. So
you know
he
when
left me out here to hang.
yes,
But I did put on my big girl's pants. I'm here.
yes,
So
ma'am.
again,
But
It's your day. Do what you want to
no,
do.
no. We are not talking about Manchester United because we carried the day. So we're not talking. We're talking about Arsenal today.
Like I
This
said,
this meeting does
yesterday
not
didn't
end
happen.
until we talk about Arsenal. Let's go
Yesterday
ahead,
didn't happen. There
Madam
was no
Moderator.
game
Could you
between
moderate
Aston Villa
over
and
Arsenal?
Arsenal. We end there. And I mean, from the onset, I said I did not have a run this week.
Okay, you can answer some questions though. What was the score?
Oh, no. You're not going to get me there. You're not, you're taking me to an unhappy place.
For 2 hours, we've answered your questions. 2 hours. I'm just asking for 10 seconds. Answer the question. What was the score?
I plead the fifth.
We did not plead your fifth when you asked the questions. We respected you, Madam Moderator. We answered your questions. We asking that you respect us as well. Answer our question. What was the score and what happened?
I plead the fifth.
Wakalap.
No, she's trying to play Mingalato with us. She has
With
to answer the
us. So
question.
next week when we come, I'm going to plead the fifth on every question she asks. How about that? How about that?
Oh, I plead the fifth. I mean,
Okay.
I plead the fifth there. You see,
Okay.
I mean, I just said it from the beginning. I've said yesterday it didn't happen. There was no game between Arsenal and Aston Villa. Let's end it there. You guys have
No,
This is your
I, didn't-
platform to say whatever
I,
you
didn't-
want.
I didn't watch the game and I don't even know the score. What was the score? The game was yesterday, I know. What was the score?
I have no idea.
Oh, you have no idea?
I happen to have no idea.
And you call yourself an Arsenal supporter?
I am,
Oh, okay.
and my heart call for it, but I don't know the result.
You don't know the result for real?
No.
Well, do you know the results?
No, I don't watch Arsenal.
I don't even watch
Ah!
Arsenal. I don't follow Arsenal. I don't watch Arsenal. I just I just want to score and then move on.
I mean, if you don't follow Arsenal, you don't even watch the games. Why do you want to know what the results are?
I said I just want to score. How
I
they
mean,
play because
that's essentially giving you the result. The score
I
is the
don't
result.
I don't care
It's the
for
outcome of the match, and I just told everybody yesterday didn't happen. Arsenal didn't play any game. There was no game between Arsenal and Aston Villa. We end there.
no, Madam Moderator. I'm just interested in the score. That's it.
Oh well. You see what? The score right now is black because your screen has gone black. You see, even the universe is working against you. Deep
Oh,
think.
you mean it was a draw?
You know what, deep thinker. Let's end this wonderful podcast that we've had. I would like to thank Mr. Henry Mafuta in Lusaka. I'd like to thank my colleague, Kelvin Jambra in Lusaka as well, a good friend of mine, a fellow journalist who I have very high respect for joining us today. I would also like to join Mr. Clifford Musev. Oh, I'm going to butcher his last name. Help me out here, Mr. Kalap. Mr. Clifford de Musevula, I think that was
She's
his name,
confused
wasn't it?
because Arsenal
Deep
lost,
Thinker?
so that's why she can't
It was in
pronounce.
Zambia as well. So we appreciate all those that tuned in today. So maybe before we close this segment, let me have your final words from. Let's start with you, Mr. Kalapa, and then we go to the deep thinker.
Yeah. Otherwise, whatever is happening in Zambia, I know politically it's not good because the even if PF is destroying itself, they might resort to destroying the whole nation. It's like, kicks of a dying horse. They just want to, lay their hands wherever they can get confusion, or they can get maybe, like riots. But I'm happy that the government is aware of all their tricks, But what they did, like to Tutu Ngurube, you don't use somebody's, funeral to go, make your political agenda. I don't know what's wrong with the Emmanuel Mwamba. I think he should be the second one to be caged. Politically, I don't care about those guys. Those are the people that should be behind bars, so that it can quiet down a little bit. CK is gone. He should follow suit too. That's what I can say.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Club. Deep thinker.
I'm very, very excited about the energy conversation that we had and what is going on at home. And like I said earlier, that I hope the PF was Mberwa, because this is really good news. And I urge the UPND government, under the able leadership of Mr. Hagainde Hijirema, continue working. Uh, don't listen to distractors. Don't listen to people that are sabotaging your work. Just continue working, because there will always be some haters when you are doing well. So, and this is reflecting on what is going on with the PF government, because they do not have alternative to what alternative economic development and growth strategies that the UPND has. Now they are splitting and they're having their own problems and blaming it on UPND.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Mr. Hagainde, please continue working. Mr. Hagainde, please continue developing the economy, growing the economy. For right now, Mr. Hagainde, you are one. You've scored one. PF 0. Just like Arsenal 0, Southampton is 1.
Oh my God.
Good job,
He just killed
UPND.
me. He just killed me there. He just killed me. Huh? I knew he was coming with that. He
They
knew the
failed to
results, and there's
they
somebody
failed
who
to
doesn't follow
score.
Arsenal. Anyway, listeners, viewers, thank you for joining us this very wonderful Sunday afternoon. We meet again next Sunday, same time, same place. I have nothing more further to add. My heart is breaking. Until next Sunday, keep the faith.
Madam Moderator, I'm sorry, UPND is 100, PF is negative 100. Those are the scores.
Listeners, keep the faith.
Keep the faith. Thank you.